All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's big topic is driver fitting. So we're trying to make sure you guys understand big focal points and aspects that we're going to look at as club fitters versus maybe some preconceived notions or ideas that you have coming in. So Sears, why don't you go ahead and give a rundown of the driver that you have in your hand, and then we'll have you hit some and run through some of those big topics.
All right, so yeah, today I got a TSI-4 Titleist, which is kind of a low spinning head with a Ventus blue 6X shaft, kind of the middle of the road, not the super low spin shaft like the black, but the middle of the road, the blue. When we're looking for fitting, a lot of what we're looking at with spin rate, I know everybody says killer spin, but it kind of is a give and take with how we're attacking it, right?
Right.
When we're looking at attack angle, if they're hitting up on it, well, we can afford to bring that spin rate a little bit down. But if they're starting to hit down on it, we might need to bring that spin rate up just a little bit. So that's kind of the things that we look at when we're looking at driver. We're obviously looking at ball speed. We're looking at height. We're looking at land angle. But when we're looking at spin rate, that's kind of what we're kind of playing into. Most people aren't hitting up on it like the guys on the PGA Tour are.
Yeah, I mean, with the tour players, the average tour player is swinging almost level, or you got guys like Cameron Champ that hit down on it a little bit. You got guys like Rory that are hitting up 5, 6, 7 degrees on it.
Right.
So there's no point in just grabbing a driver off the shelf, because we're saying there's massive differences in tour players' swings. And yeah, while you're going to see major differences when they go through a club fitting, you're going to see just as big of a change going through a club fitting as a mid to high handicapper. It doesn't matter what your talent level is. It matters what your statistics are, meaning your club head speed, your angle of attack, your centerness of contact, your face and your path, that relationship. And that all comes from getting information from a launch monitor and a trusted club fitter. The big topics that we look at or statistics that we look at are the same no matter what your club head speed. So if you come in and you're swinging 70 miles an hour with a driver, we're going to look at the same things. We may have different goals in mind. If you're swinging 70, 80 miles an hour, going back to that, trying to kill all the spin, at that club head speed, you need spin.
Yeah.
Easy metaphor is you need those propellers on the plane to keep going, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep that ball in the air. If that ball has no spin on it, you have to hit the ball so high, it's going to look like you're hitting a sand wedge to try and get the maximum amount of distance out. So
correct.
It's about finding that middle ground, that cocktail mix between launch and spin, based on your statistics that a launch monitor will provide. That's really important in optimizing your game. So why don't we have you hit a few drivers? We'll take a look at some of the numbers. The biggest statistics that we look at, obviously, are ball speed. We want you to hit a new driver farther than you would your old driver, but there are limits, right? The USGA says, if we look at that statistic smash factor, USGA says a driver can only produce 1.5 times its club head speed in ball speed, meaning if you swing 100 miles an hour, your ball speed can only be 150 miles an hour. So smash factor is basically that efficiency rating. PGA Tour average is 1.48. 1.5 is the highest you can go. You may get a couple outliers, 1.51, but anything higher than that, you're probably looking at something that's illegal, because it's too hot of a face. Mm-hmm. But looking at ball speed of 176, ball speed is pretty close, I would say, to what you had with your last driver, but that height made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, you were apexing or hitting it about 160 to 180 feet high. sometimes 180 feet, and that ball is just falling out of the sky. It's landing way too steep. Drivers need to look more when they're coming down, more like landing an airplane versus a helicopter. So,
Right.
I mean, from your perspective, what are the big things that you try and focus on?
Center of the face is what matters most. I mean, if you're hitting it in the center of the face, most of the time we'll say it's going where you want it to go. So when we're fitting, we're also not talking about just distance. We're talking about bringing in groups, right?
Yeah.
We want it to be tight.
Yeah.
We don't want that one that you're always hitting it to the right, you're always hitting it to the right. We want to bring that in too. It's not just about distance.
And it's not about that one time.
Right.
That one time I hit it
Right.
250. Well, on average, if you're carrying it 220 in the air, who cares about that 250?
Yeah.
That's as much of a null point as the one that you hit way offline. You try and block that out of your mind. Well, when I'm club fitting, I'm looking at the collective perception of what you're doing
Right.
with your driver. So, yeah, I mean, definitely getting fit and the value of getting fit and getting something dialed in can't be overstated. I think more and more people are starting to get fit, but understanding what is going to be advantageous for you. Do you need more spin? Do you need more loft?
Right.
Stuart Sink was playing a 12-degree driver for a long time. There's a lot of people are apprehensive about, one, going to a softer shaft, two, going to more loft, until they start seeing the numbers.
Right.
And they're like, okay, well, this makes sense. It's a different window that ball's leaving my field of vision than I'm used to, but I know I have less club in than I've ever had.
Yeah.
So value of getting fit, especially with the driver, sets up the rest of your game.